Good afternoon. Did you all have coffee? Okay, who didn't have coffee, please let's order coffees from the bar. If a few coffees could come here. Thank you. I want an awake audience. I want you to contradict me. I love the statement, be open or be dead. I'll say, embrace the opportunity or be dead. I've been playing with internet technologies and computers for over 30 years now. I've been reading what people say about it. Journalists who start talking before a wave is real and they say, but the internet, what is the use of it? I had so many conversations in '94 about, but what can you do with an internet connection? Well, what can you do? In '94, you can send email. In '95, you can download Disney movies or watch a few images from the moon, sent directly from satellites. And every couple or 3 years, analysts come up with a new revolution that's happening. And for me, over the past 30 years, there's been 3 things. But they have completely changed the world. There's been Moore's Law. Moore's Law is the fact that every 18 months, you can put more computing power in the same space. Take that big space, in 18 months, there will be twice the computing power. And 18 months, twice again. Why is it working? Because there's so much investment going into it to make it happen that it's been working for 30 years. And some people have actually been playing at taking Moore's Law back a few thousand years and claim that it would work the same way in terms of number of bits of information that are transacted between humans. The second thing is the internet. We all breathe through the internet today. Who's trying from time to time to be disconnected for 24 hours or 7 days? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 healthy persons in the room. All of us, all the others were completely addicted. I remember going on vacation, and obviously, I'm addicted as anyone. And we were sailing. At some point, we go away from an island to the point that I have no internet connection. And these are the 2 hours of my real vacation in that week. So we are infinitely connected. And the third thing, analysts will tell you mobile. I mean, who's heard that mobile is the big thing now? But the truth, mobile phone didn't change much. Okay, I don't have to wait for my wife anymore at the corner of a street and hope that she'll show up on time, which never happens. That's a big change, I agree. But it's actually not a big economical change. The real change is mobile internet. It's all these smartphone devices that allow us to have access to data from anywhere. You know, the iPhone is obviously a huge success. Who has an iPhone in the room? Almost, yeah, it's about the same proportion as Silicon Valley, actually. But who remembers the Newton? Okay, me too. I had a Newton. Well, what were you able to do with it? Not much. It was a fun toy. What's the difference between the iPhone and the Newton? These 3 things. The concepts were there, but you just didn't have enough computing power. You were not enough connected and enough mobile. Think back, all the changes that we've seen over the past 20 years. Think how much our life has changed. And this is nothing compared to what's going to happen in the next 20 years. Because there's a new thing that's happening. And the new thing is deep learning. We finally, we've been talking about artificial intelligence for probably more than 30 years. But we're finally cracking the code. And we don't quite see it yet. But now there are robots that can walk. There are skeletons that can help people to walk. There are systems that can learn. And what's really amazing is it's not artificial intelligence in the way we were thinking 20 years ago. You just teach them by showing example and more example and more example. So you still need a human somewhere, but the more they learn, the more they're able to self-learn. The projects at Facebook and Google on deep learning are phenomenal. And many people nowadays talk about big data. I think that big data is nothing without deep learning. Because it's really great to have the data, but today you need so much knowledge from a data scientist to get a little bit of business insight from it. Think about when it's going to be automated. And that fourth ingredient is going to change our lives and the economical world more than the three other laws has in the past 20 years. All aspects of our lives is getting transitioned. Facebook, we're all being instrumented in some ways. Today, you know, Fitbit or Basic Speak and all these health monitoring devices are totally optional. There's going to be a one day where your health insurance tells you to put a device like this, otherwise your premium is going to go up, and that day is not so far away. We now stream movies through things like Netflix. Most people are actually turning off their cable subscription in the US. They're not buying TV anymore. They're just buying a Netflix subscription. Now, can you think about this? I mean, when I saw the first streaming of TV, my first reaction was the internet was not built for that. Yeah, but it's working every day. Oh, and obviously people meet on Match.com and other websites like this. It's every aspect from human life that's being transformed. You know, how many phone numbers did you used to know by heart? Probably about 100, and now if you know 3, you're lucky. It's the way we conduct our life that is changing. Now we're reaching a snowball effect. We're reaching a point where things are just going to go faster and faster and faster. Okay? It's been, this is Moore's law traced on a standard scale, and we're pretty much close to reaching the brain of a mouse. And soon, the total computing power of the planet will be equivalent to the brain of a human. Not very impressive, except it's doubling every 18 months. So from 1 human, we'll go to 2 human, to 4 human, and it goes pretty quickly from there. What are we going to do with this? I can dream of all the bad things we'll be doing with that. I hope it's not going to destroy the planet. It's a real risk. There's also a lot of good things that's going to happen, but the one thing I know for sure is that it's going to change the way we live. It's going to change the way we do business. And what people need to understand in this room and out of this room is that every industry will be transformed. A few years ago, all the media company, the publishing house were fiercely competing with one another just to wake up one day and realize that Google took their business away. A few years ago, hotels were really fighting against each other to discover that Airbnb is taking their business away with empty houses. Taxis were fighting, and now Uber is taking a big piece of this business away. And think about all the retailers and the role of Amazon. Think about countries that have no business on Sundays. If you have no business on Sunday, where do you go shop on Sunday? You go shop on Amazon. And suddenly it's billions of dollars of wealth that are changing hands from traditional businesses very often to American companies, whatever the country it is. And the money is flowing there. You know, this is one very, very traditional company, Hermes. Well, you can do online shopping with Hermes. You can buy online. All the big brands now, you can shop online. They were so proud of their stores. They put so much money on their stores. To recreate such an experience online is a very different proposal. How will they differentiate? How will they convey the quality of the product? Everything focuses on the brand. This one is even more amazing. This is probably the oldest industry in the world. Now, I'm not talking about the airplane. This airplane is an agriculture airplane that can do crop surveillance and tell the farmer what to do. And now a single farmer can actually act on miles and miles of land from his desk. Being a farmer now is a home job. It's completely different. And the magnitude of change is still not understood. And still, you know, if you're in an insurance company, you kind of know that your business is going to be transformed. You have no clue what to do with it. It's time to start being creative. Because if you're not creative for yourself, someone's going to be creative for you. I know that there are many telcos and service providers in the room. It's the exact same thing. Your business will be disrupted in ways that you don't even imagine. So start being creative now. Go work with our OX. This is a great creative team. And figure out new business models. Where's the value? You recognize this car? This is a Tesla. Okay, first car in the world that was able to increase the speed of its Model S just with a software upgrade. Okay, you download the software, your car goes faster. So where is the value of the car? In the software. There are 17 moving parts instead of hundreds in traditional cars. Only 17 moving parts in a Tesla. It's not about cars. It's about changing the model. It's about changing the driving experience. It's about changing the transport experience. And the value is in the software. The value is in the dashboard. The value is in the control of the car. And this is going to be more and more the case. I meet more and more companies, I'm talking industrial companies, that used to outsource production in China. But now, the workforce is only 20% of the whole cost of the industrial good. And okay, they may save 50% on 20%, but that's only 10%, and then you need to add transport and quality issues. And there's more and more industrial companies that go back to manufacturing in their home country, wherever that is. Outsourcing doesn't make so much sense. And think about 3D printing. Again, everything's in the software, and you can build the pieces you need locally. No transportation needed. So the tendency is going to be for more and more of the value to be in the data, in the software, in the data that these machines can collect also. How big is that? How big is the impact on infrastructure when every aspect of our lives as consumers and every aspect of corporations, even those who produce industrial goods, is data-driven? How big is that? What are we talking about? Okay, roughly 10 billion people will get connected. We're not yet quite 10 billion people, but we'll all agree that we'll get there at some point and not so far. And a person generates hundreds of thousands of files or data points, and probably it's going to soon be in the million. So we're talking thousands of trillions of files. A typical file system can handle about 100,000 and then crashes. Just a lot. An airplane flight generates 1 terabyte of IoT. I used to think that IoT is really a great concept, would be small amount of data. I just didn't realize how many sensors there are in an equipment and how much data these sensors provide. And again, with deep learning, this data makes sense. You're going to be able to prevent crashes. You're going to be able to save life. You're going to be able to save cost also, thanks to this data. Now, 10 years ago, you could already capture the data, you could hardly store it, and you couldn't make sense of it. But now that you can make sense of it, you want to keep it. You want to analyze it. One airplane flight, just one, is 1 terabyte of data. basically one hard drive per flight. There's about 100,000 flights a day. That's 100 petabytes of data every day. And that's just airplanes flying. Okay, every piece of equipment, every human is going to be equipped in some way. In terms of servers, we're talking hundreds of millions of servers. It's big. So how do we handle this? And some of you will have to handle a piece of this. I wish to every one of you to handle a big piece of it. You need to think in terms of scalability. Technical scalability. Everyone thinks about this. Okay, the system needs to be more stable as it grows. You know, traditionally in the computer industry, the bigger the system, the more problem you have. Someone seen that before? You remember you're supposed to contradict me as I speak? This is a good opportunity to contradict me. The bigger the system, the more complex it is. Have you seen that? A few people have. But that's just the beginning. Because what we really want is operational scalability. That as you grow the system, it becomes simpler to use, simpler to operate. You want it to break less, not more. You want it to be more reliable as you grow. You want performance to grow as the system grows. Who's seen a system grow 2 times and get its performance divided by 2? That's been seen before. You want to think in terms of cost also. You know, if all the value is in the software, anything that's material is going to have pretty much 0 value. You want the cost to decrease as systems get bigger. And you want time scalability. It used to be that whenever you were thinking about a computer system or a data infrastructure, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years max. 7 years is a long time. Not anymore. People want to keep data for their lifetime. And you know, more and more, I meet with people who are planning what's going to happen to their data or to their Facebook account when they die. And they don't want it destroyed. They want it passed to the next generation in some form. So the time of any infrastructure now has elongated tremendously. Obviously, any moving part will have a finite amount of time. Okay, granted, the pyramids have been there for 3,000 years and will probably stay another 3,000 if we don't destroy the planet. But, you know, when you're talking computer systems, whether you're talking flash disk or hard drives or the new type of storage that will be created in 10 years, I don't think they will have a 3,000-year shelf life. So how do you make the system stand while you replace pieces of the system day after day, year after year, decade after decade? There's one structure that does it, and that does it well. It's our brain. The architecture that holds this technically is called hardware-independent shared-nothing architecture. This is a business talk, not the technical talk. For the technical talk, come and see me at the break. But seriously, what you want is a network of independent machines that is software-enabled and will provide you the function that you want. And you need to, at any point in time, be able to replace the machine and count on the software. And you can trust that year after year, the machine will be cheaper because this is the benefit of Moore's law. Think human brain. Our cells get replaced all the time. New synapses get created all the time. But the thing is stable. We memorize pretty well. You can easily recall things that are 20 years ago or even more than that if you're a little bit older than 20 years old. So some people cracked it. I'll name 3 that are really obvious. Google, Amazon, and Facebook. They cracked the code. They made it happen. They've got hundreds of thousands of servers, all interconnected, that deliver an amazing quality of service at an amazingly low cost. Okay, Amazon had some downtime a month ago. It does happen. But seriously, if you compare to the scale at which they operate, it's pretty good. In the past 5 years, only once I was not able to load my Facebook page. So yes, it happened once. But again, pretty amazing. So it's possible. The question is, how do you do it? How do you enable it for your service? Think a moment. What would the digital era be without storage? Just think about this amazing internet and these mobile smartphones that are connected. What would it be if there was no storage on the other side? You wouldn't do much. You would still do texting, or chat, or WeChat, maybe email, but you would have to send computer to computer, like the old days, without a mail server in between. But you wouldn't do much. Storage is integral to the construction. You have storage of data, think movies, think IoT data. You have the internet. You've got Open-Xchange because you need an application. And then you have a human, or many humans. So I'll finish by talking a little bit about Scalability, because that's what we do. We essentially enable very large-scale storage for everyone who wants to play in this brave new world. Service providers, service providers of any kind, really. Mobile, telco, cable, many mail providers that compete with Gmail, essentially, nowadays. Web and cloud services, think Dailymotion, think RTL for video sharing, enterprise and governments. And we have about 500 million users. Obviously, we don't sell to the end user, we sell to the people who operate the system. But the point is, at the end of the day, to be able to take advantage of this software, of this data economy, you really need to think very large infrastructure that is operated at a very low cost. We provide the software to do this for storage. Others provide the secret sauce to present that storage in front of the end users and to interact with the humans. You absolutely need all of this to make it happen. Thank you.